Hello and welcome to another edition, episode 45 of the Are You Ready Wrestling podcast here on Newport City Radio. This week I'm Luke and I'm going to kick off the show by talking about one of the most talked things about this week, WWE's latest round of releases.
Hi, I'm Jack. For my segment this week, I'll be talking about the upcoming pay-per-view, Backlash.
Hi, I'm Curtis, and for my segment this week, I'm talking our overall thoughts on how to keep WWE interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very interesting.
It's been a hectic week, to say the least.
It has. It kind of heated up as the week went on.
A lot has happened.
A lot has happened.
Obviously, I'm talking about the weather in the UK at the moment. It's been absolutely scorching. It's been on fire this week.
Thursday was absolutely boiling.
It was.
I had to walk down to the train station to meet somebody, and I was just like sweating absolutely like crazy. I was like, and I decided to wear a tracksuit, and I was like,
oh, that's your first mistake, Curtis.
and then as soon as I got home, I was like, I'm gonna have to change into shorts. It's bloody boiling.
But yeah, it's also been hotting up in the rest of the world, isn't it, Jack?
Yes, it has.
Now, we know that WWE year on year, release talent. It's a natural part of what they do as a business and as an organisation.
Yeah.
You had some at the start of the year. Another like Giovanni Vinci was released, and Sonya Deville was released, much to someone's disappointment in the studio. They've happened again. When they made their original round of releases earlier this year, I was struggling to think of who would be the next set of releases, because you kind of look at some of the releases and say, okay, they weren't used on TV, they weren't being featured, whatever.
Yeah.
But these were. So
Quite
the names
heavily.
quite heavily.
Actually,
yes,
yeah.
as you'll see now when we mention these people. So the names of talent who have been released from WWE this week, or Friday as it was, just before SmackDown went on the air, were Braun Strowman, Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Wolfgang, Joe Coffey, and Matt Coffey of Gallus, Eddie Thorpe, Riley Osborne, Jakara Jackson, Oro Mensah, Javier Bethel, Danny Palmer, and Shotzi, whose contract was not renewed.
Indeed.
Which I'm pretty sure Sonya Deville's contract was also not going to be renewed.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. She hasn't been on TV properly in a while, especially not on the main roster anyway. I didn't really see a kind of creative direction for her anyway, so I think it was quite obvious. I think she'll probably go over to AEW. I'm sure she'll do some storylines over in AEW. But some shockers to say the least.
In other news, then, Curtis, wrestling is gonna wrestling. Storylines are gonna happen on TV. Wrestling's gonna wrestling.
Well, that's if John Cena doesn't ruin it.
Yes.
Go on, Randy.
So, yeah,
You're forgetting the three most important letters in wrestling.
TKO.
Nope. RKO.
What? That's segment 2.
I know.
That's Jack's delightful segment for
Yes, it is.
the week.
I had to get that RKO bit in there, though.
Of course you did. 15 names there, I believe, all in all.
Quite a big list. Actually.
Quite a big list, yeah. Mainly NXT talent.
Yeah,
Yes.
There's some on there, though, that are really shocking, the kind of main rosters, some that have been out injured and
Very.
stuff.
Very surprising. The one that surprised me most was Dakota Kai.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was a member of Damage Control. Obviously, she wrestled live with Valkyria in the finals of the Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament, so you can kind of feel how high regarded she was, that she was in line for a bit of a push, obviously getting to the finals of this tournament on the second episode of Raw on Netflix at the start of the year. doing some really good stuff, as I say, with Damage Control, with EO. I would have loved to see, I know Damage Control is kind of waiting for Oscar to return and Kairi Sane, who are both out injured at the moment. Has that harmed her? I'm going to say yes. I think so, because if you have more of a faction around her, then I think she'd still be employed at the moment. That's also going to get released.
Yep.
We're going to release your phone, Curtis.
Lovely.
Okay.
Well, we'll see it in 90 days. But yeah, Dakota Kai was the one that shocked me most. As I say, she was on TV week on week. Braun Strowman, I know, was another kind of, I say, interesting name that was released over the past couple of days. Does it shock me though? No.
He was the one that shocked me.
No,
most.
it doesn't shock me. Why didn't it shock you? Why did it shock you, Jack? And then we'll come on to why it didn't shock me.
It was actually very surprising because he was doing some tremendous work with the likes of Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed, putting on some tremendous matches with them. It was looking like we were going to see maybe a last man standing match at Mania against Fatu, but it didn't end up planning that way. And also he's obviously had knee problems recently for the last couple of years, so maybe that
knee
played
problems.
into the facts.
I think knee problems are underestimating it.
Yes,
I think everyone in this world has knee problems, honestly. No matter what you do.
I think so.
I mean,
there's a whole brain rot story we could go down here with the with knee surgery, but
keep that for another day.
we will do.
Yes.
We will do. Brain rot podcast coming soon on Nipple City Radio.
Keep your eyes peeled.
We can even go international brain rot if you've
oh no
seen these past couple of days.
God.
I sent you something on social media the other day, Curtis. I seen on there with
I don't actually think I watched it.
WWE superstars have been turned into. At the moment, we see the Italian brain rot trending.
Should I have a look at it?
Have a look at it.
Let me have a look at
Go
it.
on.
Have a look at it in your own time. But yeah, Jack, you were saying Braun Strowman.
Yes, I maybe completely understand why they've let him go into some aspects, but not every aspect in the world, as he is such a tremendous talent. What are your thoughts, Luke?
Not shocking in the slightest. I think
Okay.
the final nail in the coffin was Paul Heyman going on the Pat McAfee show and saying that he basically told Strowman that he wasn't good enough. And then
I did
Strowman
hear
was
something
crying
about that.
because Paul Heyman said he wasn't good enough to be on WrestleMania. Strowman over the past year, he's been semi-regularly featured on TV, and as you say, he has done some good stuff. He's helped get Bronson Reed over. He's helped get Jacob Fatu over and kind of showcase how good they are and how dangerous they can be in terms of kayfabe.
Yeah. He was in the US title picture for about 2 seconds.
He was, and that's
Very
kind
quick.
of, I think I was, in this day and age, that is kind of his level.
Yeah.
That mid-card title scene, is he going to make a run for the world title?
It's nice to see he's in good spirits, though.
Yeah, he posted, he went onto social media the other day, and I think he's on a boat somewhere in some hot country, and
Yes.
blue seas and blue skies, or clear seas and blue skies, I think is what I meant to say there. But no, doesn't surprise me though. I've said for ages, his knees look screwed, and you could see him trying to move around the ring and do what he does, and he just couldn't do it anymore. I don't think we'll see Strowman in a wrestling ring again. I think he could make some appearances.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, he's still a name, he's still a former WWE World Champion. But is he really going to risk deteriorating his knees and his health more? No. I think we won't see him in a ring again. I think that this will be Braun Strowman retired, in my eyes anyway.
Yes.
Do you what do you think, Curtis? Braun Strowman?
So at first, I was a bit shocked, to be honest, because there's kind of, it's kind of controversial that they've released him, especially like Jack said that he's just finished a really good storyline with Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu. And then for him to just randomly get cut from the whole thing and just get released is a bit like, why? But then you've also got to factor in kind of his knees are kind of deteriorating. He's not.
Look at when he's trying to do the Strowman Express and kind of move his way around the ring, a bit like what Braun Breaker does with his spear when he tries to move around the ring, and you see him trying to move, and yeah, it looks painful for him to watch. I don't know what it's like for him.
Yeah, but there is definitely quite a few names on the whole list that has shocked me. I get that kind of cuts happen every so often, and they have to happen. But there's a lot of question marks in my eyes to why some of them have gone, as they did have the potential to either go back to the main roster or debut in the main roster. Dakota Kai, that shocked me. Gigi Dolan, Cora Jade.
I was going to say, I think you're talking more about the NXT superstars who have been released.
Shayna Baszler as well.
Baszler did surprise me, yes. She had a really, really good run in NXT with the NXT Women's title under Triple H's reign. Is it translated to the main roster? No.
Not very well.
Shayna Baszler has always been one of them that hasn't been the top superstars in WWE. She is a big name. I think her best feud was definitely the one with Ronda Rousey. But other than that, there hasn't been too much else that's really impressed everyone. But yeah, I think definitely some of the names on there has shocked me a bit. But
the NXT ones, a few of them came at a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
The first one to me was Cora Jade, who
I think Cora Jade's a massive one that shocked quite a lot of people, to be fair.
You know, she was featured on Stand and Deliver WrestleMania weekend.
Yes.
She was on the pre-show team with Roxanne Perez in a women's tag team match, which I believe we mentioned on last week's podcast with a bit of frustration around what Roxanne did at WrestleMania. You know, Gigi Dolan, who this time last week, I think we spoke briefly about TNA Rebellion, the pay-per-view that they were presenting last weekend. She was wrestling in that for the TNA Women's Tag Team titles.
Yes.
You know, so too was Jakara Jackson. She was with Lash Legend. You know, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend had a match last year at Crown Jewel, I believe, against Naomi and Bianca? Was it Jade and Bianca at the time?
I think it was Jade and Bianca,
I think.
Or was it a multi-woman match? Whatever it was. They had a match at a main roster premium live event. And we know that women's tag team division is quite sparse as it is.
Was it a Clash? Was it that massive tag match at Clash?
No. That was Isla Dawn and Alba Fire.
Well, apparently. I've got some talking about kind of the releases and stuff.
Go on.
Okay.
Dave Meltzer has put his word in.
Okay.
So this could be absolutely lies with Dave Meltzer, but you know, we'll
never know.
We'll say it anyway. So, age and salary are reportedly the main reasons why the WWE main roster releases have happened. Essentially, the cuts are being made because a lot of it has to do with the guys and women getting up in age, and they're looking at people who they're not going to use well compared to their salary going forward.
Okay.
I get that.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I seen another rumor earlier about Braun Strowman was
I've seen that.
Quite a bit of money, and it wasn't worth how much he was wanting.
I get that
for what he was doing.
If that is true, and that is the reason why some of them have gone, I 100% get that, because you know these people like your Strowmans and your Dakota Kais, for example. Are you really going to push them to if they're on World Championship money, and they're not being pushed to the World Championship scene? It makes no sense. If you're using them in the mid-card scene, for example, or as we say with Braun Strowman, to help get a couple of the guys over,
yes,
then you're not getting return on investment. You're not getting value for money in terms of what you're actually paying compared to what you're actually getting from this person.
In that regard, the cuts kind of make sense.
Yeah, I think money-wise, it makes sense. But really? Just really? It's just like... I don't get it, but here we are. We're around that time where releases happen.
They always happen after WrestleMania, don't they? I think we've been fortunate over the past couple year or so under Triple H that they haven't really happened.
No. Not often.
But
it does have to happen at some point throughout the year, and it is a...
Yeah,
it is some. There is some shocks in that list. I think that's up there with some of the shocking.
Definitely,
lists.
the two in NXT that shocked me the most, or three. Eddie Thorpe, who I think was doing some really, really good stuff over the past couple of weeks on NXT. He had a good feud with Trick Williams. Had a few matches for the NXT title. Cora Jade, as we mentioned, and obviously a relationship with CM Punk as well.
Yes.
And Gigi Dolan as well, who started, I believe, in NXT before he moved to NXT 2.0 and the colourfulness and whatever. The thing there, though, and I suppose it kind of goes back to what Dave was just saying, that these people have been on NXT for 4 or 5 years at this point, and they haven't moved to the main roster yet.
No. There's been no plans to even pretty much call them up. Well, there's been a few sightings where they've been in the crowd.
Yeah, there's been some sightings of them in the crowd, but there really hasn't been no creative direction. I feel that comes down to kind of how big these main storylines are in WWE. I feel like it's hard to add more to what we've already got, even though I think going forward, I think it would be better to see kind of some fresh storylines and stuff, but I feel like it's definitely a difficult decision. It wasn't just WWE wrestlers that got released. One of the people who do the creative stuff with Triple H. There were a few staff cuts as well. Staff cuts, they got released as well.
Thursday. But yeah, the NXT ones who have been there for 4 or 5 years and are making, as you said, no sign towards the main roster, then I suppose the writing's on the wall there, isn't it? That if they've been there for so long, then either they have no creative plans for them on the main roster,
just a matter of time,
or they don't see them to be good enough on the main roster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although, we say that they happen, and quite rightly there's a bit of outrage. Would you rather watch Braun Strowman or Aleister Black?
Aleister Black.
Would you rather watch Braun Strowman or Rey Fenix?
Rey Fenix.
Rey.
Would you rather watch Dakota Kai or Mariah May, who is rumoured to be potentially joining the WWE soon?
Mariah May.
If she joins WWE, I'd say Mariah May, but at the moment I'd say Dakota Kai.
You know, these cuts happen because, as we see with WWE, adding new superstars all the time. Would you rather watch Braun Strowman or Rusev?
Rusev.
These happen because, as you mentioned, other superstars come along that kind of, I say, take the spotlight off them.
That sort of need those big contracts.
Yes. Would you rather watch Jeff Cobb or Braun Strowman?
Jeff Cobb.
Or was that hard to answer because we haven't seen Jeff Cobb wrestle yet?
Actually, yeah, that is actually.
But do you know what? Do you kind of get my point though?
Yes, completely.
That these superstars will leave in NXT. Would you rather watch Riley Osborne or Ricky Saints, aka Ricky Starks?
Ricky Starks. Personally.
Yeah. These do have to happen, but it is sad when they do happen. But wrestling nowadays is filled with so many different companies and different promotions that these superstars will be fine. If they want to continue wrestling, there's plenty of options for them. See Braun Strowman, as I say, retiring. Dakota Kai.
Possibly
AEW. I could see that happening, but I think she could do TNA. Potentially. Shayna Baszler, I think she might move back into the MMA world. I could potentially see that happening. We know obviously she was in MMA before joining WWE.
It'll be that or she'll retire, I think.
Okay. Caden Carter, Katana Chance, they'll go to TNA, definitely. Cora Jade, I could see going to TNA. She's had a few appearances on there. I know she wrestled for the TNA Knockouts title, so obviously she's held in good regard there. Gigi Dolan,
Yes.
probably GCW on the indies. Matt Coffey, Joe Coffey and Wolfgang Gallus, they'll come back over here, I think. I think they'll work the UK indies. Eddie Thorpe, I think he came from New Japan. I could see him potentially going back to New Japan or TNA. Riley Osborne, TNA. Chicago Jackson, TNA. And the rest, I think, could very well end up at it. Looking for some total non-stop action.
Yes.
Take it away, Jack.
Well, my next segment for this week is we're looking at this week's pay-per-view. It is Backlash.
It is coming out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes, Randy Orton's hometown. And as far as I'm aware, on our good friends at Wikipedia...
Oh, our very good friends at Wikipedia.
There has only been 4 matches announced so far. One is John Cena versus Randy Orton for the Undisputed World title. Second one is Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental title. Third one, which I'm very excited for, Pat McAfee versus Gunther in a singles match.
Okay.
And fourth final one is a fatal 4-way for the US title. Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. I'll get into my thoughts first. One, the match I'm most looking forward to is Pat McAfee versus Gunther, because I believe the build has just been so hectic with what's gone on with regards to the attack and the whole involving the announcers, which has been brilliant. But the one thing I will say is it's surprisingly been put together quite quick.
I think it's been 3 weeks in between WrestleMania and this premium live event.
What are your thoughts, Luke?
My thoughts? Well, before we come on to my thoughts, well, let's go to Curtis. Curtis is next in this list. Curtis, Backlash.
Backlash.
You're going to be watching Backlash on the weekend.
I will be watching Backlash on the weekend.
I will.
If I'm not doing nothing. The card is looking good. I think I'm definitely looking forward to Pat McAfee versus Gunther. The United States title match as well. That's going to be a really good match. I could see that being up there. John Cena versus Randy Orton. The nostalgia of that is going to be crazy.
Yes.
Are you stealing my points?
No, I'm just saying. That's what I generally think. Wrestling minds think alike, Luke.
They do.
But yeah, there's one more match. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Jey Uso.
Yes.
Yeet.
Massive fan.
But
Yeet.
Some idiot
Yeet.
called
Yeet.
Logan
No yeet.
Paul
No yeet.
is automatically got a title match.
Yeet.
Just out of nowhere.
He did beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania.
Okay, he
right?
beat AJ Styles. Well done.
True.
Mid-card match. Meh. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then instantly attacks Jey Uso and gets a title match. What the hell is that about? He done it with Roman at Crown Jewel a couple of years ago, and now he's done it again. He is not a world heavyweight wrestler. He doesn't deserve to be in the title scene. Yes, this is going to turn into a rant about Logan Paul. The only reason why
he didn't have a 10-minute rant for any of the releases because he was saved it all up for Logan Paul. Curtis, take it away.
Go.
Only because he's got loads of YouTube fame and he's full of money and he wants all this and he's paying WWE off to give him all these matches. He seems to think he can go from United States title to world title. He can go do what he wants, doesn't care. Decides to stick his ugly ass logo in the middle of the ring. Decides to do what he wants.
Just picking up your point and you say he's gone from the US title to the world title. Isn't that basically what Braun Breaker's done.
But there's a difference, though.
Isn't that what Gunther did?
Hold on a minute. Do you enjoy watching Logan Paul wrestle? Would you rather watch Logan Paul or Braun Breaker? Answer that.
Are you doing what I did with the
Yes.
releases?
Logan Paul or Braun Breaker?
Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker.
Exactly. Logan Paul or Jey Uso?
Now there's a more difficult question.
Answer
Yes.
this correctly, otherwise this will be turning into a war.
Jay.
I like Jack. Good answer. You answer this correctly.
Logan Paul.
Ooh.
No, I'm joking. Probably Jey Uso. I think his display against Gunther at WrestleMania was
Okay.
one of his better outings.
Okay. Logan Paul or CM Punk?
Ooh.
Punk.
Exactly.
CM Punk.
So,
Yeah, but you all talk about the top echelon talent.
okay, all right. Let's go. with
Logan Paul or Damian Priest?
Damian Priest.
Logan Paul.
Well, good morning to you. Well then, all I'm saying is,
He's a good heel though. Logan Paul is a
He
good
is.
heel. He gets lots of heat. He does things that gets heat.
but
That's what you want as a heel.
but you genuinely enjoy watching Logan Paul every single week. Would you like to see him walking around with a world heavyweight title belt? No.
The World Heavyweight title belt.
Would you like? But why? Please explain to me why. It doesn't matter whether you're famous, whether you're this, that. Doesn't matter if you're the goddamn king or Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Why is he getting?
Never thought he'd get mentioned on this podcast.
Wow.
Well, I'm surprised he didn't get talked about. It was the topic of the hour during the bloody election, so I'm surprised he did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did get mentioned, but we had to take it out because of politic reasons. But you know, do we genuinely think Logan Paul deserves to have 2 world title shots in the space of 2 years, or 3 years, or however hell long it is? Do we really think that? Do we?
What he has is hundreds of millions of followers on social media.
A lot of eyes on the product.
Okay, and
It's good to get your brand out there.
what? Logan Paul. Logan Paul.
I'm going to use a word here.
Go on.
Best for business.
Exactly.
I don't think it's best for business.
Why not?
Because it's Logan Paul. Who likes Logan Paul? Everybody hates him.
Okay then. Let me.
He's better than his brother.
Logan Paul
that way.
has 27 million followers on Instagram.
And
Okay.
your point is? Yeah,
That's
Instagram.
at least 27 million eyeballs on WWE that wouldn't necessarily be there otherwise.
They're on Netflix. They're all across the world.
Logan Paul has 23 million subscribers on YouTube,
Okay, and?
including his latest video, 100 WWE superstars or 1 gorilla.
Seriously, though, who gives a damn about Logan Paul?
So has 50 million followers across Instagram and YouTube combined.
Okay.
Mr. Beast has 100 million followers on YouTube, and what?
Yeah, and I'm sure if they'd like to get Mr. Beast in a wrestling ring, Mr. Beast would.
Okay, but what was
Russell.
what was more viral? I Show Speed in the Royal Rumble taking a spear from Braun Breaker, or Logan Paul winning the United States title?
I show speed.
I guarantee you it was I Show Speed.
Yes, but
Definitely.
what was...
But I Show Speed is entertaining, which is my point. Logan Paul, even as a heel, is not entertaining in any way.
He gets heat. He's not entertaining.
He annoys me.
He's not entertaining. That's what he's supposed to do. As a heel, you're supposed to be annoying. As a heel, you're supposed to do that. Look at him. MJF's a perfect example. He's a heel.
But
You hate him.
But MJF is funny to watch, even as a heel.
He's got charisma.
Logan Paul doesn't. What?
I just noticed your lock screen.
Okay, and doesn't matter. Moving on.
This is in love for listeners of the podcast.
Yeah.
He is.
I got a missus now, innit? So you know what I mean.
He's smittens.
Shut up, Jack. Shut up, you little fool. But MJF, I enjoy watching him as a heel.
Mm.
Logan Paul, I literally, as soon as he comes on the screen, I do not want to watch it. It ruins the show for me.
But do you watch his matches in the hope that he loses? Or do you turn his matches off as well?
I'm too busy watching TikTok. I couldn't give a damn. I don't care if he wins. As long as he doesn't beat Jey Uso, then there's going to be war.
Oh. Well, I'm not here for next week's podcast, Jack,
Oh,
so
God.
you have to deal with the collateral damage next
is.
Sunday.
That's me done. Yeet. I shall not say a further word on this podcast until after Backlash. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on Backlash? Well, you do have to talk, because segment 3 is your segment, so you can't really get out of that one.
It's no longer my segment, Jack.
Right.
No.
One last thing. What are your predictions for this
For
pay
Backlash,
per view?
before we move into predictions, done some of my thoughts. We've had
Yes.
Curtis's thoughts, we've had your
yes, go.
thoughts.
Luke, nobody cares about your thoughts.
That's.
What are your thoughts, Luke?
Thank you for that, Curtis.
Yeet.
For a 3-week build, it felt like ages between Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania, which I think was about, say, a month and a half,
Yeah.
which typically is every year. I think they're a little bit later with, obviously, WrestleMania this year. But considering it was a 3-week build, I think it's been pretty solid. You know, it's not setting the world alight, but at the same time, there hasn't been completely boring, which is
No.
I know you want to talk about in a couple of seconds time, Curtis, if he does say another word on this week's podcast.
Yes.
But Pat McAfee versus Gunther, I'm really fascinated to see where this leads. Obviously,
Be very
we see
entertaining.
that Michael Cole was originally put in the sleeper hold by Gunther, and then Pat McAfee saved him and got choked out.
Yeah.
Obviously, going back to Jey Uso,
And of course, who's just come up on my Instagram feed? Should we have a guess?
Logan Paul.
Look,
Yep.
Paul.
Unfollow.
Wow.
Goodbye.
Yeet. But yeah, going back to Jey Uso and Gunther, their feud at WrestleMania,
Yeah.
it felt like the two biggest cheerleaders of Jey Uso was Pat McAfee and Michael Cole. You see Pat McAfee on the table up very energetically yeeting when Jey Uso came out, and
Even Michael Cole.
even Michael Cole was as well, yeah. And that's kind of why Gunther went for them.
Yeah.
Because they feel like obviously they were not fully responsible, but partly responsible in him losing at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So I hope
But how is it their fault that Gunther tapped out?
it's
Exactly.
not their fault, no. But Gunther was kind of saying that Jey Uso's a joke. He's manufactured. He's a company mascot, and Gunther lost to the company mascot, so he was angry, and obviously he had to take his frustrations out on someone, and the two people closest to him where we could were Pat McAfee and Michael Cole.
I'd get in the ring with Gunther.
There you go. One Gunther chop, and I think you'd be
You are?
one Gunther chop, and I think you'd be calling for home.
No yeet.
So I hope it doesn't last long. I hope. I don't think it should last long. Under 7 minutes, maybe. Maybe
I reckon
under
it should go at
6.
least 8 minutes. I
don't want
reckon.
it to see it go long. I don't want to really see it be competitive.
I reckon 8 minutes would be the sweet spot. I reckon.
I don't think Pat McAfee should win. I don't.
Ooh.
I'd love for this storyline to be building towards Wade Barrett coming out of retirement
Interesting.
and facing Gunther. I'd love to see kind of him go after the commentators. Because if Pat is, say, out for a couple of months, who else could he go after if he is still frustrated? Well, you've got Michael Cole, who isn't going to get in the ring.
Undefeated at WrestleMania, man.
He is undefeated at WrestleMania.
but
Something
however.
that Gunther cannot boast. Or you've got Corey Graves, who was
Yes.
on NXT and really wouldn't make any sense unless he comes out as a babyface and kind of argues and sticks up for the commentators and says etc., etc. Plus, yeah, I don't think it should be competitive. I don't think it should last too long. I think Gunther should... I'm going to use the word... I think Gunther should squash Pat McAfee.
Okay.
I think he should. I think... Whether it happens or not, I don't know, but it's what I would like to see. And I think that's what a lot of what we talk about is. So, yeah, Pat McAfee to lose, and then another commentator kind of makes the save, like Wade Barrett gets up at the commentary position and kind of helps him if Gunther's beating him too badly, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Or even, like I say, Corey Graves or another announcer to come out and do something.
I think it's more likely to be Barrett.
I think it'll be Barrett as well. And it'll be nice to see him potentially get back in the ring again and deliver one last ball hammer to Gunther. Randy v. Cena, as you said, Curtis,
Yes.
will be quite nostalgic. They're building it as one last time. And when Cena announced his retirement originally, people were speculating that Randy would be the one to retire him. Obviously, they've had so many matches and so many feuds down over the years, but it's happening now just after WrestleMania with Roman with Cena holding the title belt
Very early on.
very, very early on. Like I said, I thought they would do it a lot later on in the year. Lyra v. Becky, I'm looking forward to. I think that's going to be a pretty good.
Finally, the IC title's been featured.
Exactly, and it's only taken the biggest female superstar in WWE to make it happen.
Yes.
That should have been a WrestleMania match, though. I think I stated before that feud deserved to be on WrestleMania, and I even called back in January saying it should be on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They're waiting for the right creator for Becky, but yeah, it should have been on WrestleMania. Yeah, you said predictions.
Who do you think?
What do I think?
One match out of the 4.
Well, I've already said that I think Gunther will beat Pat McAfee. Cena will obviously beat Randy. It's Cena's first title defense. Whether it's as bad or boring as the match at WrestleMania with Cody Rhodes, I don't know.
Yes.
But it'll be interesting to see. Does anyone interfere, say at the end, and set up Cena's next title match or title feud? I don't know. Obviously, we know Cena isn't really around on TV often, so it'll be interesting to see how that ends. And I think Jacob Fatu will retain his US title that he only won 3 weeks ago.
Yes. That is pretty solid.
Logan Paul to beat Jey Uso? Now that gets his attention.
Oh, God.
No, Jey Uso will retain. It's his first title defense against Logan Paul, who only called him out on Monday. I'm sure they'll probably have a bit of a promo battle this week, but yeah, I think that Logan Paul will lose to main event Jey Uso. And I feel that potentially we could see Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker interfere in that match.
Potentially.
Quite possibly.
Because it feels like at some point they will go after the world title again to kind of have the control.
Possibly after they announce a third man.
Potentially they do. Logan Paul. Curtis, your predictions for Backlash?
Pick one match out of the 4.
Jey Uso to retain.
Go for them all. John Cena against...
Come on.
John Cena to retain, Jey to retain, Jacob Fatu to retain.
Becky Lyra.
Lyra to retain.
Okay.
And Gunther to win.
Do we see Bayley returning on the weekend?
Maybe.
No.
Because, again, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when it was announced that Bayley was out injured. I'm pretty sure I said that it's going to be revealed that Becky did it. And on Monday Night Raw, it was revealed that Becky Lynch took out Bayley. It was. So I feel that when she returns, in the storyline standpoint from her injury, that we will see her come after Becky.
Does she maybe cost Becky the match? Maybe
I think so. She'll come out and set up a match at the next Premium Live event. What do you think, Jack? You've asked us for our predictions. I know you said last week, and I think you've made it public on social media, that you think Randy Orton's going to win. Do you still stick by that comment?
Yes, I do still stick by that comment. And I also think out of the rest, Fatu will retain.
Yeah.
Lyra will retain. I think Pat will win. Get his comeuppance revenge.
You think Pat McAfee's going to be Gunther?
Yes.
Okay.
And this will be a start of a downward spiral for Gunther.
Okay.
But anyway, and what is the final match?
So we've got Gunther against Pat McAfee. We've got Logan Paul against Jey Uso.
Jey to win.
Yeah, I think we all have that. Curtis.
Yes. Where do we start? What did WWE have to do to make the next few months more interesting than they already are?
Why'd you ask that question, Curtis?
Well, I'm asking you the question, so you need to answer the question. So you can't ask me about me asking you can't ask me about the question about asking the question. So answer the question, because I am asking you the question. So you need to give an answer to the question.
I think we need a little bit of context here. We're not asking it for the sake of asking. I think 12 months ago, after WrestleMania, for a couple of months, say up until SummerSlam and Bad Blood, it just felt like WWE was motoring along. Nothing really of note was happening. Obviously, the main storyline was Bloodline 2.0 at that time. And what was going on with Heyman.
I think there was a lot of storyline going on. They were just plodding along.
They were.
Trying to make things work.
Yeah. What can they do, Jack, to avoid that happening again this year and keep fan engagement, fan entertainment at some kind of high?
Well, for a surprising factor they could add, they could potentially put the heavyweight title on Logan Paul. But also with...
he is genuinely being serious. If you check your notes, Curtis, he is genuinely being serious
as a surprise. As a surprise... But then obviously I will...
What? Am I reading?
Oh, God.
I'm in the middle of texting someone. I thought he was joking. I've picked up this piece of paper, looked at this note, and it says, put the World Heavyweight title on Logan Paul.
As a surprise factor.
Surprise factor?
To make it more, well, as you say...
What the hell is going through your head?
I have no clue. But anyway...
If we wasn't on about saving paper, that piece of paper would have been screwed up by now.
The other factor they could... I potentially see them adding, and I think all three of us are in agreement with this, SmackDown going back to 2 hours.
Definitely. I think SmackDown being 3 hours, obviously it's allowed them to feature more talent.
Yes.
And maybe more storylines. But then it feels like sometimes there's segments and things on there for the sake of having segments and things on there.
Yeah. Just to pad out the show a bit more.
Yeah, just to pad out the show. It's been good to kind of get more talent featured on SmackDown.
Yeah.
But then again, you look at some of the releases that have just happened and you feel like some of them could have been featured a little bit more on SmackDown. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yes, I can see where you're coming from.
Do you feel me, sir?
Yes,
Brother!
It's a Cody Rhodes line from that infamous press conference.
Was that a drunk press conference?
With Jey Uso after they won the tag titles.
That was at Backlash last year, wasn't it?
No, I think it was Fastlane. It was some premium live event where they won the tag titles.
Yeah, it might have been. It was either Fastlane or Backlash. It was one of them. But yeah, I do agree. I think definitely moving SmackDown to 2 hours, which is rumoured to happen around June the 6th, I think, or July 6th.
Oh, wow.
Around that time, it's going to move back to 2 hours. I think 3 hours is a little too much. Especially because SmackDown isn't powering enough over Raw. I think Raw has kind of got that element to it a bit more. And I think if we could get some more unpredictability with the storylines, I genuinely think I think it would be better for everything. But the problem you've got with this is social media takes over and it does leak absolutely everything. You've literally got a whole wrestling business on leaking things. So
that's the bad side.
I think that's the bad side of it. But I'm just looking at the notes now, other than the fact that Jack has got Logan Paul to win the title on here. I think having a draft, Luke, is a very, very good idea.
Thank you.
Okay. I think you are right. It will balance the stars out on each brand, which I feel like Raw is overpowering SmackDown a bit more with the superstars.
Which I kind of understand, because Raw is just, obviously, as we all know, moved to Netflix, and Netflix want the top stars on.
It's kind of more of a flagship
brand
show at the moment.
If you look over on SmackDown, you've got Cena, yes, but it feels like Cena's kind of floating between both brands at the moment. Obviously, I think he will predominantly be on SmackDown with
the Randy stuff,
with Jay also being a world title who was on Raw. You got Randy Orton. You had Kevin Owens, who can feature anywhere in WWE, but we know he's out for the next year. We've got Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
You've got Damian Priest, if you could potentially class him as a main event talent. Obviously, he was world champion last year for a couple of months. Had a really, really good reign with it. Had some really good matches and some tidy storylines. And then obviously lost it to Gunther. You have obviously Jacob Fatu, who's the US champion. LA Knight as well. I think you could kind of argue for him to move up to
star power.
He does. But then you look over on Monday Night Raw, who obviously Aleister Black as well, who's just made his return, and Rey Fenix as well. But I think they're still kind of in the early days of their return and debut in WWE, so they're still setting the groundwork for them at the moment.
You've got the likes of Penta.
On Raw you've got Penta, you've got Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio. Oh, Rey Mysterio's on SmackDown even. Is Rey Mysterio on SmackDown? No, he's on Raw, isn't he? He's on Raw,
I think, yes.
But you've got Chad Gable, you've got CM Punk, you've got
Seth Rollins,
you've got Braun Breaker. Obviously, we know Cody is on SmackDown as well. Roman Reigns just shows up wherever he wants. You have AJ Styles, you have Karrion Kross, you have, all these top stars that you feel could be inserted in the world title picture.
I feel the show
predominantly on Monday Night Raw.
The show needs to be a bit more balanced out in regards to having talent on each show.
Which is, I feel that's kind of one of the negatives of SmackDown, is that they haven't got too many top names, which is maybe why the 3 hours just isn't clicking. If we see that Raw is really, really good week on week, but that's because, they're featuring CM Punk, Seth Rollins.
And of course, CM Punk would be on the top of that list.
Even on the women's side, Rhea Ripley,
there's not a surprise there.
Liv Morgan. Can you throw at you there, Jack?
Oh,
yes.
You set Jack off now, for God's sake.
But no, do you know what I mean? You kind of have all these top stars. I mean, SmackDown has like Naomi and Jade Cargill and
they're boring.
And Tiffany Stratton.
Okay, maybe not so boring.
And Nia Jax.
Certainly boring. Get out of here. Go back home. Miserable word I cannot repeat.
But yeah, I just feel that SmackDown going back to 2 hours would
benefit WWE more.
Benefit WWE more. I don't think it would solve all the problems. I say problems, solve everything, but I think it would benefit them a lot more.
If there was a way to solve every single problem in this world, it would be a happy world. But unfortunately, that
It'd be a positive step in the right direction.
It would be.
positive steps. Is there such thing as that?
Yeet. Yeah, you, Jack, made an interesting point. You want to see some underutilized talent kind of featured a little bit more?
Yes, in sort of the mid part of the show, and save the start and end for your star-powered talent.
Okay,
I believe.
who would you like to see featured more? What names would you like to see on both men's and women's side?
Aleister Black, as he's just returned, sort of build him up between the main event and the mid card is one for the men's. Women's, I'd like to see what they do with Naomi.
Since sitting here, she's been absolutely outstanding, I feel. Absolutely outstanding. She had a really, really good feud. They're allowing her to kind of cut promos now and kind of be more of herself rather than before. She was just another one of the women on the roster.
Yes.
Which is nice to see. I think she's doing really, really well with it.
She's also got a new theme.
Has she been Death Rebel, as you put it last week, Jack?
I don't believe so. But it's a very catchy theme, to be fair.
Okay. Yeah, out of all the staff cuts, Death Rebel weren't released.
Nope.
What is your favourite Death Rebel theme that they have made?
It's got to be...
I think we know Curtis's. Actually, it might be a toss-up between two for Curtis.
Go on, then. What's the toss-ups?
Roman Reigns,
Yeah.
is his new one,
Reigns is mine.
or
Reigns
it's
is
just me, Oos.
Oh.
Roman's my one.
Either
Top.
I Am Greatness or
Not even Seth Rollins?
Ooh.
Burn It Down.
Actually, now you think about it, yes.
It's got. I think it's got. I think
got a nice ring.
I think it's got to
ring
be
to it,
Romans, to be
jingle.
honest, because it's just aura. The song is aura.
So, I definitely move SmackDown to 2 hours is the general consensus here in the studio.
Yes.
Anything else that you'd like to see, Jack? Obviously, we just spoke about the underutilized talent, maybe featured a little bit more. Someone like Carmelo Hayes, I'd love to see a little bit more spotlight on.
He's getting slightly featured because the tag team.
He's on
with the
TV
Miz.
with Miz, but I'd like to see him kind of more as a single star. I'd like to see some of the NXT talent move up. We
Yes.
spoke about some of those who have just been released as looking likely. Again, adding more star power to Monday Night Raw. That Julia and Roxanne Perez are potentially moving up to Monday Night Raw. How do we feel about that?
Very exciting.
More excited about Julia or Roxanne Perez?
Perez.
Curtis, how do you feel about that? Some NXT talent moving up to the main roster.
I think it'll be good. I think it'll bring some divide in the women's main roster.
All that with WWE Evolution, the all-female premium live event,
Yes.
yet to be announced.
I know a surprise for that event.
Who?
Paige.
Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like she'll probably return at some point.
Ryan May.
I think that's when she'll come back. Is it WWE Evolve?
Evolve. Yeah, I could see that. She was kind of...
She hinted it in a way.
Yeah, she
yes.
was kind of one of those women involved in that, you know.
She said she preferred her Paige gimmick. Apparently.
Yeah. Although in AEW she could kind of work with her family, and as you said, was it Zack Zodiac, Curtis, you were a big fan of?
Yeah, her brother.
Yeah, she got to work with them in AEW.
I think he's left AEW now.
Yeah, I think he has. But
That lasted long.
yeah, NXT as well. You could see the likes of Trick Williams be called up.
He definitely needs a call up.
Ethan
What
Page.
that trick?
What?
What that trick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing the Booker T thing with you.
What that trick?
I like it.
What that trick?
Uh-huh.
What that trick?
Oh yeah, man.
Whoop that trick.
I think that's where he finishes. But yeah, Trick Williams, Ethan Page, I'd like to see be called up as well. I think he's done a few. Obviously, he came from AEW, but I think he's done some good stuff in NXT. Potentially a third man in this new faction with Seth and Braun. But yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.
I'm leaving this podcast in your capable hands next week.
You are indeed.
Yes, you are.
Bold move, but sure.
Should
Very
I be
bold.
should I be worried?
No, I've done it before.
No, everything's fine.
I think the podcast of me and Jack had the second highest views in our history.
Oh, wow.
Second or third.
Should I take the hint there?
Take the hint and go home.
On that note, thank you for listening to another edition of the Are You Ready Wrestling Podcast. We will catch you, or the guys will catch you next week.